I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Dairy Magazine, reporting to you here today from the World Ag Expo. I'm here with Becky Nyman from the U.S. Dairy Export Council. Wanted to talk with you here today about how our dairy exports are doing. You know, from California Dairy, we are in the #1 dairy state in the nation. It heavily rely on exports, and we're conveniently right next door to the #1 export country, Mexico. And so I wanted to ask you, how did we do this past year with dairy exports, and what are our challenges and opportunities for the future?
We had a good year for exports. We had a record export year for cheese, so it was really good. We do have some headwinds coming up. There's some uncertainty with the political landscape, with how that will impact dairy exports. But there's also a lot of opportunities in terms of emerging markets. We just had, U.S. DEC had a team just come back from Kenya looking into expanding in sub-Saharan Africa and what opportunities we might have there as a dairy industry. So there is still a lot of exciting things, opportunities coming along, even though there is a lot also of uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, with the new administration and potential tariffs and the retaliatory tariffs that often accompany that, a lot to navigate in the future, but nonetheless, our exports are essential to the continued success of our dairy industry. We really appreciate the work of your organization and supporting that. Can you tell us what are some of our future opportunities?
Yeah, there is just so much work going on at U.S. DEC. There are a million things I could name. We have a very strong partnership with our partners in Mexico. We annually meet with them, industry officials, and work with them to better the industry as a whole. As over time, as Mexico's demand has driven, the U.S. exports into Mexico have remained the same proportion. So their industry growth equals our industry growth. So that's a really great partnership we've had. Just last fall, I went with U.S. DEC to the Middle East, to Oman, and was able to speak to a number of industry or government officials as it relates to food safety, because they're working to build trust and confidence in our systems to kind of take down those barriers as our exporters export into their countries. So there's just so much work being done all around the world. The organization really has a keen eye on those opportunities and where we can take down those barriers for U.S. producers.
Yeah. And one last question here. If we do have some issues with tariffs that that may impact our relationship, for example, with Mexico, what do we have a backboard? Like where else can we look to make sure that we don't skip a beat?
Yeah, I mentioned Kenya and sub-Saharan Africa. That is a huge potential future opportunity. It might not be this year or next year, but long term, that's a huge opportunity. Also, Southeast Asia has a lot of growth happening, and so that's a more near-term opportunity. But really looking beyond where we have those strong export numbers, that's where we have to go to next in order to continue the growth projection that we've seen.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your work, and I know some of those trade missions and stuff, leveraging some of the funding that we get from the federal government as well, to make sure that gets allocated to improving our export markets for dairy. So Thank you so much. Read more about these things in California Dairy Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.